Greetings, YouTubers. It's me, Jason Grady again, and I'm back. Sorry for the delays and all that jazz. I'm finally back this time, and this time I will continue making more videos. If my tablet quit mentioning me that I have lost storage space, but anyway. Oh, in case you're wondering, yeah, I shaved off my beard to have the mustache. I went to see Top Gun Maverick. Love the movie. Love it. Anyway, today I'm doing another reaction video, and this is going to be on Matthew Buck's Bad Movie Beatdown's 2012 review of Prometheus, the Alien prequel, which is kind of like the first half of the story of what the story could have been. But anyway, let's get to the review and let's watch it. Here we go. Good old Matthew Buck. Yeah. I really love that Mario art cover of the theme song that he used too.
To the 5th season of Bad Movie Beatdown.
Rock on, Matthew.
And we're going to start this party with a bang to make sure that you know that I'm back.
Yep.
We're going to be looking at last summer's biggest disappointment.
Yep, the 2012 prequel to the Alien films, Prometheus.
In 1979, a little-known director named Ridley Scott had a surprise hit with Alien.
The first movie in the franchise. I've seen it, loved it. On TV, say like Stars.
That may sound familiar, but that's because it was so successful that the template has been repeated over and over again for various rip-offs and cash-ins that follow. But the film's tension, atmosphere, script, and performances means that it stands superior even to this day. It did for space what Jaws did for the water, and catapulted both Scott and unknown star Sigourney Weaver to success overnight.
Yeah, and there's also spin-off one of the scariest video games ever, Alien Isolation, and a comic book which is actually based off the original screenplay of the movie. I read it, and I was like, you know, this could work as a alternate Alien movie, and that could work.
7 years later, post-Terminator James Cameron took charge of the follow-up Aliens, which was bigger,
love that one too.
As indicated by the tagline,
this time it's war.
It also made Weaver's Ripley a female action icon.
Yeah, I love those two movies. Amazing.
However, after two fantastic movies, the series started its inevitable decline.
Yeah.
In 1992, David Fincher, who would become a terrific director in his own right, made his film debut with Alien 3, which had a famously hellish production.
Yeah. That movie has a ton of screenplays that never get made. One of them being the William Gibson one, where the xenomorphs have a virus that turns anybody into a hybrid xenomorph. Which, that could make more sense, and I would love to see that version. Hell, they even made it in a comic form. I read it, I was like, that could have been the Alien 3 we should have got. But no, we have to get the one on the prison planet. But hey, I saw the assembly cut. It was a better improvement on the film, but I prefer that one over the theatrical cut. And I don't blame David Fincher, because Fox forced him to do the movie, and he hated the film, which I don't blame him. He doesn't want to talk about it, which we don't blame you, David. We don't blame you.
The troubled result was a controversial letdown to fans of the series, although I think the extended assembly cut on later releases is a substantial improvement. Even though Ripley had been definitively killed off in the last film, the miracle of clone brought her back for a fourth entry, Alien Resurrection, in 1997,
which is now
a mess of a film that killed the franchise once and for all. There was then the subsequent indignity of the Alien vs.
I've seen
series, which I covered
the first one's okay, but at least we got two of the main creatures fight each other. Hated the sequel because that was a other piece of garbage I've ever seen in my life.
After 30 years, the Alien franchise was well and truly in the gutter.
And the toilet.
So what better man to bring it back to its former glory than the man who directed it in the first place?
Yep. Ridley Scott's like, hey, let me come back to do the franchise that I started 30 years ago, back in 1979, and make a prequel out of that movie. So, in 2012, we got the prequel known as Prometheus.
This is where Prometheus
and what does that take place?
Focusing on the xenomorph
No.
again, Scott was going back to explore what's known as the space jockey, a huge amphibian creature found inside the derelict spaceship in the first Alien that was the victim of a chest burster.
Which is a mystery.
It's a mysterious creation that has fascinated both fans and critics alike for decades, including director Scott himself, and that was the genesis of Prometheus. Prior to release, the film got a tremendous amount of hype, to the point
mega
where
build-up.
it was an event. It was, to quote the DVD box, Ridley Scott returning to the sci-fi genre that he helped define. Although, beneath the hyperbole, Scott may have made several classic films, but he's made his fair share of clunkers. And in the last decade, he's made such uninspiring fare as A Good Year, Body of Lies, and Robin Hood. The script was initially written by John Spates, whose only other credit is the critical failure of The Darkest Hour.
Oh yeah, and another thing. His original screenplay was going to include the planet where the derelict ship crash landed, LV-426, before the rewrites. And trust me, we will get to those moments that were not in the movie, but they kept some of that in. But I digress.
It was heavily rewritten by Damon Lindelof.
Yeah.
Co-creator of Lost and wrote The Fog, Cowboys and Aliens.
I actually love that movie because you got James Bond, Indiana Jones / Han Solo, Korra, Mr. Krabs, Guy Fleekman fighting aliens. And he's trying to rescue his son, who is actually played by the Riddler from the Batman. I was like, holy, wait a minute, the cowboy who was acting like a total jackass is actually the Riddler from the Batman? I see what you did there, Matt Reeves. Good casting choice playing the Riddler.
When released, you could feel the palpable disappointment coming from those critics.
Some people loved it, some people despise it with a passion.
You'll be disappointed at how much Ridley Scott managed to miss the mark, and yet was so close at the same time. Oh yes, I was quite disappointed with it at first. And then, as it processed further, I became quite angry with it.
Oh yeah.
So as a fan of the Alien journey.
Yeah, let's go back to where all this started. In 2012's Prometheus.
And contrary to what some of you might be fearing, I will admit the film is very strong in terms of its visuals.
Yeah, really, Scott has a really good eye for cinematography. I really like that in these.
Alien-like, given the shadow of the floating spaceship overhead, is truly impressive and sets a
Oh, yeah.
tone for what follows. We then see a tall, white, muscular humanoid or an engineer.
Oh yeah, these guys. Yeah, I'm guessing these guys. It looks like they stole the Jedi robes. Yeah.
Cloak as the ship flies away, drinking a mysterious carb. Is it a ritual or an act of rebellion?
Well, there is a alternate opening of the film. Yeah, this movie has like scenes cut from the film. The scene with the one engineer. In the theatrical cut, there was only one, but there is the alternate opening where we see multiple engineers, including an elder one, giving the cup to him, which it says on the Blu-ray contains an alternate opening, which makes it clear it's a ritual, so it makes sense. And I really wish they kept that into the movie. However, this was in the original draft of Prometheus, was originally going to be called Alien Engineers. You can find the original script on the website and the plot on AVP Galaxy, and of course there's the poster.
The content suddenly made the engineer start disintegrating on a molecular level, falling into the waterfall below. As the title appears, we see the DNA chain reforming in the water, followed by a fade to red blood cells, implying that the engineer has created humans. So that's how humans were created, just add water!
And a albino strong man to drink some mysterious black liquid, disintegrating the molecular level and go into the water. Oh yeah, and the effect of that engineer disintegrating, that is basically the same people who did the snap effect where everyone turns into dust for Avengers Infinity War, and the second snap to bring everyone back to life in Endgame, which I actually didn't know this because I see Dead Meat's review on it.
Seriously though, leaving aside the fact this completely ignores evolution, and it's allowed to because it is a sci-fi film, I'd actually argue the film peaks here.
Very much.
In the first 5 minutes, we discover who the space jockeys are, how humans were created, and the titular Prometheus. Got any further questions? Well, sorry, because the next 2 hours, a character trying to reach this exact point.
Nope.
I guess we're gonna have to leave those for the sequel.
Nope. I'll get to that in a minute.
We leap ahead to the year 2093.
Actually, no, Matt. It's 2092. Because it says right there. Oh, no. Is it 2090? Let me see. Let's see here. Hang on just a minute. Let's see. Come on, let's see.
Laboratory vessel Prometheus.
Oh yeah, it is 2093. My bad. I'm sorry, man.
Traveling through space. While the rest of the crew are in cryosleep, it's here where we first meet David, played by Michael Fassbender, the ship's robot.
Oh yeah, and
during their slumber. David's the closest film guest to a fully
I freaking love David. Michael Fassbender knocks it out of the park as a android. And to be honest, I really like him as the younger version of Eric Lencher / Magneto in the X-Men films. And yes, I'm one of the people who loves Assassin's Creed. because since that movie was a flop, for I don't care. I love the games. I love this movie, and this movie does have. The movie has like a lot of scenes were cut from the film, and they couldn't make the movie a rated R since that's what the games are. But anyway, I love the character David, and heck, I'm really glad he came back for Covenant, and he plays 2 androids, David and Walter. I like Walter in Covenant because he's kind of like more like the good person type, and Fassbender does a really good American impression. The guy has talent.
It could have very easily been a pale imitation of Ian Holt's Ash or Lance Henriksen's Bishop, but Fassbender is wise not to copy either, creating a polite but gently unnerving presence.
Oh yeah, and actually, Fassbender actually portrayed David because he doesn't want to copy the other androids, so basically he based on Rachel from Blade Runner. Yeah, so that's very interesting because I learned this from Oliver Harper's retrospective / review of Prometheus.
It's also noticeable that David is the character that gets most time to himself.
Pretty much.
Most subtle characterization as a result. And I think that's why he's the standout figure of the film.
Yep.
This earliest part of the film is also the closest to the spirit of Alien, whilst being noticeably different.
Yeah, pretty much like that.
Atmospheric, claustrophobic, and lonely. Unfortunately, that's disrupted when the ship gets close to its destination.
Yeah, to where the Prometheus is heading.
Milburn, biology. Nice to meet you.
Okay, we got Miles from Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, who is the primary antagonist, and we got Solomon Lane from Mission Impossible 5 and 6. Really?
4-year exploratory mission, 2 years there and back, to an unknown planet simply for a paycheck?
Really?
I'm pretty sure there are much easier ways of making money, you know? And right there and...
Yeah, pretty much like, say, like, gathering data, getting rock samples. Oh yeah, Fifield is a geologist, and Melbourne is a biologist. Keep that in mind.
Then the problems with the film begin because it starts being too heavily reminiscent of Alien. In the original film,
yeah, because in Alien, you know these characters.
They've been together for a long time and alone, so it was understandable why they were cynical and jaded. They've established relationships and
yeah, you feel bad for these characters. That they get picked up one by one by the Xenomorph.
In Prometheus, these are scientists at the top of their field who barely know each other, going out to discover possibly the greatest discovery in human history.
Yeah, what if everyone says that they build all these people up throughout the movie, like setting up friendships and teamwork? Makes more sense.
You don't just do that for the money.
No.
It's a forced attempt to try to recreate the same group dynamic and goodwill from the earlier film, but it rings completely false. Just like, why the hell the top geologist or an antagonistic punk rocker?
Well, technically, I'm guessing that was the hairdo that he picked, so cannot disagree with his choices of hairstyles.
This group has been hired together for the Wayland Corporation, headed up by C. Montgomery Burns here. Oh wait, sorry, that's Guy Pearce in heavy old age makeup. That's Peter Wayland.
Oh yeah, and here's another big problem. Would it make more sense if they cast an older actor to play Peter Wayland? I mean, you can use Guy Pearce, say, like, in the flashback scenes when they did the TED Talk for... Which makes more sense, because since he was younger. And shouldn't they go with an older actor to play Peter Wayland? They couldn't go with Max von Sydow to play him. I mean, he will be good as the older Peter Wayland. it would make more sense. Recipes up there, Max von Sydow, you're one of the best.
In a message recorded before they took off, as he is likely long dead by this point.
There's a man sitting with you today. His name is David. He is the closest thing to a son I will ever have. Fortunately, he is not human. He will grow old, he will never die. Yet he is unable to appreciate his remarkable gifts. For that would require the one thing that David will never have, a soul.
Wow, nice and tactful, Mr. Whalen.
Yeah.
It's not like you sat in the same room, listening to your blatantly on-the-nose dialogue.
Yeah, pretty much.
Care to elaborate further?
Yeah.
It smells a bit too. After Whalen spells out the themes to the back row, like all intelligent sci-fi does,
Yeah, very much.
George's couple Elizabeth Shaw and Charlie Holloway, played by Newey Rapace and Logan Marshall Green respectively, come up since they're the reason they're on this trip today. This may sound like a stupid question, but why the hell are you just getting briefed now? I know the mission is top secret, but what if someone wants to back out?
Yeah, like, say, like, they don't want to do the mission. They could be like, I'm staying on the ship. Or, I can't come with you because you won't tell me nothing.
2 years away from Earth is a bit late to reconsider.
Yeah.
Basically, Shaw and Holloway have discovered artifacts in different cultures, the same image of men worshipping giant beings pointing to a star system miles away that they couldn't possibly have known about. And yes, that really is all the evidence they seem to have for this incredibly expensive journey. Naturally, some...
Yeah, pretty much like, say, like, you have one ship to go to from Earth to the location they're going to, which that is a pretty ass long way to Earth into this planet where they're going to. Also, and this is just me, I think Martian Logan Green could have, Martian Logan Green could play Isaac Clarke in a live-action Dead Space movie. No, really, he has the buzz cut, the look. Hell, I would love to see him as Isaac Clarke in a Dead Space movie. Like, give him the suit, the plasma cutter, and the badass one-liners to kill the Necromorphs. That would be awesome.
Like In It for the Money, George's Fifield, played by Sean Harris,
Yep.
or George's Milburn, played by Ray Spall, aren't impressed.
Seems only here because of a map. You two kids found the cave.
Not a map, an invitation.
From whom?
We call them engineers.
You mind telling us what they engineered?
They engineered us.
Bullshit.
If you're willing to discount 3 centuries of Darwinism, that's...
How do you know?
I don't. That is what I choose to believe.
Christ, yeah, and I could choose to believe that chocolate shreddies gonna rain down from the sky tomorrow.
Guess what?
But you know what?
It
It's
probably
possible.
doesn't.
And you certainly don't waste endless amounts of time, money, and resources on an extremely thin theory that any old crackpot could have dreamt up. And you certainly don't whip out your engineer's theory without any scientific proof whatsoever, because then you look like an idiot. Actually, what's baffling is that I could swear this is exactly the same setup that was used in the first AVP film, which also claimed that Earth was visited by aliens. In that case,
The Predators, or the
Hey,
Yelcha.
at least David has a credible reason for knowing ancient languages off the top of his head.
Because he's an android who can study other languages.
As opposed to that Italian archaeologist who constantly spouted forced exposition. Ridley Scott's distaste for the Alien vs. Predator franchise is well on record by this point, so why the hell did he copy the silly plot from a movie that he felt ruined the Alien franchise? It's very odd. Also on board is Vickers, played by Charlize Theron.
Hi, Cypher from Fast and Furious.
Mission and has her own living quarters separate from the main body of the ship. Sure is especially
And
fascinating
Furiosa
by the
from
menopause
Mad
she
Max
has,
Fury
because
Road.
in no way will that become a
Fury
plot
Road.
later.
Whelan found you impressive enough to fund this mission, but I'm very certain your engineers are nothing but scribblings of savages living in dirty little caves. Let's say when you do find these beings down there, you won't engage them. You'll do nothing but report back to me.
Miss Vickers, is there an agenda that you're not telling us about?
The company having an agenda in an alien film? Wow, never heard of that one before.
Yeah, and there's another thing. Elizabeth and Charlie Holloway are the ones who come up with this thing, and Vickers is ordering them to basically don't interact with them and report back to me. Seriously, they couldn't just tell her, like, we are charged in this mission and you help us, okay? Or pretty much like that.
Rounding out the ship are a Scottish medic,
Who is a completely idiot.
2 navigators,
One of them is played by Wong from Doctor Strange, Avengers Infinity War, Endgame, and Spider-Man No Way Home, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
2 sole character traits at making bets with each other, and a bunch of armed forces just in case, rounding off the crew at 17.
Yeah, they got mercenaries, but would it make more sense that they have, like, say, I don't know, colonial marines? They can easily be, like, military forces on board the ship, so would it make more sense they have, like, colonial marines on board the Prometheus to, like, say, acting security officers? And yes, Elizabeth did say no weapons. For me, fair enough, you have weapons to defend yourselves in case of something on the place that you're going at. Anyway, but that's just me.
So Captain Yannick, played by the ever-awesome Idris Elba, takes
Knuckles.
the ship to land on the only habitable planet in the system, LV-223.
Yeah, not
He, in fact, will note
LV-426.
that this means it is not the same planet Nostromo landed on in that film, which was LV-426, and has caused some audience confusion. Why is it on a different but very similar planet? Sequel base, of course!
No, because we don't go to that planet. Even though that we couldn't get to that planet, the familiar planet we don't know and love, but I digress.
They just happen to find an obviously alien-built structure on their descent, and park is a few miles away.
Oh yeah, and there's another thing. In the original script of Alien, both the derelict ship and the area that has the eggs on it were not originally going to be in the movie because we had the derelict ship and the pyramid that contains the xenomorph eggs. But then they decided, you know what? That's going to cost too much. Let's just fuse the two together and have it like the derelict ship has the eggs on it.
You'd think they'd actually want to study the alien terrain first before going anywhere, but Rash Holloway is like an overexcited kid, and it's all, well, I want to be in the temple right now!
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna go there right now, and it's Christmas, and I want my presents now, 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 now.
David, why are you wearing a suit, man? You don't breathe, remember? So, why wear a suit?
I was designed like this because you people are more comfortable interacting with your own kind. If I didn't wear the suit, what do you think about this?
Making you guys pretty close, huh?
Not too close, I hope.
And why are you being a deliberate dick to the robots? Between this and Wayland, is there some sort of android prejudice back on Earth that would actually explain the passive-aggressive disdain that David's getting?
Pretty much.
Much of the main crew goes out to explore the temple, with the exception of Yannick, Vickers, and the navigators watching back on the ship.
Yeah, pretty much.
Out his pubs, which are mapping boards that scan the interior and can be seen on both the ship and 5 feet wrist.
Remember that for later.
Back to present stupidity, they discover a human rune, which leads them to believe that whatever was there previously was terraforming.
Look at the CO2 levels. Outside it's completely toxic. And here, there's nothing. It's breathable.
Yeah, that's Holloway speaking, not Melbourne. Matthew, we couldn't fix that little error.
Kelly, I'm not wearing this thing anymore.
Yeah, would it make more sense, you know, take off your helmets?
I know you characterize as being overeager, but this is dangerously stupid. Just because the air is breathable doesn't mean it couldn't have alien particles or contaminants in it. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm being too much of a skeptic. We've come this far in blind faith, so why stop now?
Yeah, would it make more sense, like, they have one of those kind of, like, little air filters, you know, like the ones that make sure that the air is breathable or not in the pyramid. So it'd be more sense. They have clear air in there. So keeping your helmets on is a good idea. And unlike in Alien, they kept theirs on because the planet doesn't have oxygen.
Oh, and everyone else follows suit because why the hell not? Later, David uses his linguistics to activate a recorded hologram showing engineers in their spacesuits running in terror from something unseen, concluding with one of the
Yeah, we never know
and being
what
decapitated
caused him
by
to
the
get
door.
out of
The
there.
boss-like body still remaining, proving Sean Holloway's theory.
I'm out of it.
Hey, Fifield, where are you going?
I'm just a geologist. I like rocks. I love rocks. That's clearly you two don't give a shit about rocks. But what you do seem to care about is gigantic dead bodies. And I don't really have anything to contribute in the gigantic dead body arena. I'm gonna go back to the ship.
Is that something geologists seriously say?
I love rocks.
Based on a stupid temper tantrum, he seems far more like to beat someone over the head with one than study it.
Yeah, very much.
And you made this temper what, 10 minutes before running scared? What, did you not expect an old dead body on an archaeological dig?
Anyone want to join me, hey? You staying?
No, ship's good.
So now the biologist is going to leave? Surely that's his field of expertise right there.
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
think he'd be fascinated by an alien body, alive or dead.
And also, would it make more sense if the two dingle dorks decide to, oh, I don't know, stay with the group and not go off elsewhere?
What is there to even be afraid of right now? I think it's safe to assume it's not a zombie.
Nope.
And now David is the one who's eager, opening the sealed door without knowing what's behind it, revealing something similar to the original egg room. Inside are rows upon rows of big vases, beneath a towering, foreboding stone head. Speaking of heads, the other part of the decapitated engineer is
Yeah,
also
his
there.
head.
They even find a fanboy-pleasing xenomorph shrine, which makes no sense later
Yeah,
on,
pretty
but
much.
never mind. Considering what's in the room, it's very odd that the engineers chose to run into it. It appears their very presence in the room disturbs it as the vases start leaking black
Oh yeah, the
goo. And the
accelerant.
decision to depart is well timed since there's a storm heading their way, and they take the head while David takes a vase for a completely tension-destroying action sequence as they try and race back to the ship. But that's not the stupidest thing that happens.
Nope.
When the short bumps her buggy and races back to get the drop head, getting caught in the storm, and Holloway rushes out as the door closes like a twig, trying to save her. After yet another sequence where they nearly get themselves killed, David, you know,
The robot.
that we have for such events, rescues the both of them. Didn't Yannick describe this storm as having enough static to fry their suits? So how are they still alive? In fact, how have they even made it this far?
Well, technically, maybe they could have like a effect that the suits got little, like, that little areas of the suit got punctured.
Since they clearly
But
have
no.
the survival instincts of lemmings. And then Yannick points out there's no sign of Milburn and Fifield. No, really. The two dumbasses
Yeah, the numbskulls.
get themselves lost and are gonna have to stay there for the night. How did that happen? How did he manage to miss the broadcast from the captain?
I'm guessing that's costing
telling them all to leave?
communication stuff.
Not to mention that Fifield not only brought the mapping dogs in the first place,
Yeah.
but he has a map on his wrist. And even if that failed, why didn't he call up the captain, who has a full-scale map on the bridge with everyone's positions on it?
Yeah, he could have just actually just call those two dingle dorks and tell them to go back to the ship. Make more sense. Hello?
This is asinine and nonsense.
Pretty much.
This is your captain?
Sorry.
This is asinine and nonsense.
More like boneheaded idiotically.
They start investigating the head further, which includes removing the helmet to reveal the engineer underneath. However, when
Looking
they notice the head
pretty-
is mutating, they throw scientific protocol right out the sodding window.
Oh yeah, with this stupidity of idiocy. Elizabeth tells this dingle dork medical officer this.
We run a stem line into the locus coeruleus. I think we can trick the nervous system into thinking it's still alive. 30 amps. Let me make an incision. Yep, see? Go off under a 10. Too much.
And she completely screws it up like a nanominute.
No!
This is not how scientists
Nope.
act. They make theories and hypotheses. They're extremely careful and thorough and don't do anything unless they're sure.
Or it's like,
Hey, let's run a battery in here and play Frankenstein.
oh, congratulations for you.
You fucking idiot. You just took humanity's most important find ever and blew it up like a frog in a biology classroom.
Yeah, pretty much he is an idiot who's causing all this. Seriously. Melberg could have done that. Not the dumbass medical officer. Oh, trust me, we'll get to a important scene that I hated in this part. The part of her character.
See, this is what happens when the ship's medic and archaeologist tries to do the biologist's job.
Very much.
Luckily, they still have scrapings of brain mass to work with.
Thank goodness.
Which they use to examine the DNA structure and turns out to be a perfect match for human DNA. Okay, movie, just so you know, their DNA can't be a perfect match for humans because we're not bright white and 8 feet tall.
Or muscular.
DNA with monkeys, for instance, but not 100%.
Nope.
We see David using the dream device to talk to someone. Ooh, I wonder who this could
Gee, I
possibly
wonder who could it be?
I mean, it's so mysterious I couldn't possibly figure it out. He then investigates the vase and its moist contents, getting a drop of the black goo on his finger before paying.
And I did love the one that he said from the trailers when he looks at the tiny drop of the accelerant. He says, "Big things has small beginnings."
This is Holloway, who has got himself completely drunk. Why, you ask?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm very sorry that your engineers are all gone, Dr. Holloway. I think we wasted our
Yeah,
time.
he is pretty bummed that the engineers are all
What you
bye-bye.
hope to achieve by coming here? What we hope to achieve.
But big surprise is one
They
alive.
even made us in the first place.
So let me get this straight. You've discovered alien life for the first time in human history, possibly one of the most significant finds of all time. And you're disappointed? Oh, I'm so sad I didn't get to talk to them. Shut up, you whiny, selfish, entitled asshole.
Yeah, you
It was a
butt
pipe
monster.
dream. It had no basis in reality. Not to mention you've only been on this planet, what, less than a day?
More like a
You expect
minute
the
or
answers to
an
be
hour.
handed to you on a silver platter?
Why do you think your people made me? We made you because we could. Can you imagine how disappointing it would be for you to hear the same thing from your creator? I guess it's a good thing you can't be disappointed, huh?
Wow, you get more likable by the second Holloway. No sign of tact or remorse, and completely oblivious to the irony. And why do you keep treating David like he doesn't have thoughts?
Yeah, you
and
treat him
feelings of
like
his own,
crap.
when it's blatantly clear that he does? He's certainly smarter and more empathetic than you, prick.
Yeah.
David slyly asks how far Holloway would go for answers, to which he replies that he would do anything.
Yeah, anything and
Not entirely understanding David's intentions. David spikes Holloway's drink with his goo-tipped finger, and it's completely understandable why he makes him a guinea pig, given he was such an ass.
Yeah, even how should have ended made that scene even funny when Holloway clearly see David puts his finger in the drink. He's like, "You put your finger in that drink. I'm not gonna drink it. No way, no way." That was funny. Oh yeah, and here is another. There was another scene that was actually cut, but they had to refilm it. Where I'll talk about it now. There was actually a scene was actually cut from the film where we have Holloway drunk on his own ass and talks crap, because I haven't seen the latest scene. And he mentions Charlotte's mom, and this gets Elizabeth angry, slaps him in the face, and about to leave, but he's like, "Hey, no, I'm sorry." And they have sex, because this is where he got infected with the accelerant. But I like this version better because he's not a drunken idiot.
Holloway continues his sad sack routine when he visits his girlfriend until she informs him of her discovery, which leads to yet more well-chosen words from her lover.
But here's what we do then. is that there is nothing special about the creation of life. I mean, all you need is a dash of DNA and half a brain, right?
I call it great life. What does that say about me?
I love the way you just awkwardly ram that into the dialogue, which you have to completely twist the meaning of the conversation. I mean, it's a key piece of character info, and something that we should have been introduced to nice and early.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Instead, we're getting it nearly an hour into the film in a way which blatantly says,
This is a plot point.
However, Holloway manages to make a strong recovery, and they start to have sex.
Yep.
Back with our dynamic duo,
The
they manage to
Diggledorms.
stumble on a whole pile of engineers frozen in their struggle to get through a door. And as if they weren't unnerved enough,
Yeah, one of them said it was like one of them got its head exploded.
Anna calls up with this.
What is your position?
We are at 7401477. Why?
Just got a ping. About 1 click west of you. Whatever that probe is picking up, it's not dead. Even my form.
Is it moving?
No, it just
Well, he's
disappeared.
freaking out,
Must be a
so
glitch.
I don't blame
What do
him.
you mean, a glitch?
Alright, boys. Stay tight.
He's just watched their feed showing a mound of dead alien bodies, and then tells them they might be trapped with a living alien life form.
Yeah.
Who just mysteriously
With no
disappeared,
weapons to defend
and then wishes
themselves.
them a good night? The hell? I know Yannick's a relaxed captain, but does he even care about the safety and sanity of his crew?
Apparently not. Captain Picard cares about his crew. Same as Captain Kirk, Commander Shepard, his crew members. He treats them like family. Heck, everyone treats their family when some captains treat him like crap. But that's besides the point.
Vickers comes in, and evidently 2 years in crime sleep makes people incredibly horny.
If you want to get laid, you really don't have to pretend to be interested in the pyramid scheme. Hey, Vickers. I was wondering, are you a robot?
My room.
Oh yeah, that's right.
10 minutes.
Yeah, that's right, because they even mentioned this in a kind of like a Q&A section, and David Lindelof did answer the question of, is Vickers is a robot? They're like, no, she's human. So that pretty much answers your question.
Fantastic captain! He goes for a booty call in space, despite the fact he has 2 crew members trapped in the pyramid with goodness
Yeah,
knows
well,
what's
any
in there.
weapons?
But hey, at least he has Charlize Theron's a fuck buddy now. So Milburn and Fifield wisely go in the opposite direction of the pig, and have decided to take residence in the vase room, which is now absolutely full of black goo on the floor by this point, and the same room they ran away from earlier. Last time I checked, they only took the head, not the body that scared away these 2 numbnuts in the first place. And what the hell is it about this room that makes them think it'll be a good place to sleep?
I don't know.
It's like every action these supposedly intelligent characters make just gets stupider and stupider. Oh, and Fifield's tampered with his oxygen supply to get high.
Yeah, no, that
Or
will
accidentally poison himself,
tell
whichever
you.
one comes first. Earlier in the film, some worms were seen getting into the
Yeah, and they
goo.
get
Now they've reappeared,
mutated.
having mutated into penis snakes. Oh, correction, penis snakes
Oh, yeah,
open up
this
into
is where we get-
vaginas. I know the alien films have been noted for their somewhat unnervingly sexual
Oh yeah,
creature
that's where we
designs,
get the
but this is the
introduction to the hammer
parody
piece.
here. What the hell was it about that thing that made you think it was your friend? The fact that it looked like a vagina? The fact that it resembled a snake, which generally aren't considered to be particularly pleasant on Earth in the first place?
Well, technically, there was a deleted scene that was actually cut from the film, which they found a little alien worm, which they kind of just put that back into the film. So that pretty much gave us a scene that was actually cut. And there was also another scene where they're walking down to a hole and they found a skin, kind of like shredded skin from the worms. So that means they could have just put 2 and 2 together that these were something else they never seen before.
I mean, I know you're a curious biologist, charges, but generally I think that means you know when something is trying to kill you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fifield tries to cut off the snake, but it has acid for blood like its ancestors.
Yeah, like the Xenomorphs.
Eats through Fifield's helmet, causing him to fall into the black goo.
Which I'm guessing
Grows, gets into Milburn's suit,
it
and
goes
into his
through his
throat.
skin.
And absolutely no one on Prometheus saw it. It's funny
Yep.
how the first two to die were the ones who talked about evolution and then proved it by becoming Darwin Awards contenders. Unfortunately, half the ship at this present moment seems too busy bonking each
Or
other.
sleeping.
Including possibly the navigators.
No, maybe they're just betting on another thing. Continuing with their bet. That's just me.
When you become an expedient,
I hate these
you can
ads.
instantly start saving on your travels.
Including possibly the navigators.
Yep.
The following morning, Holloway wakes up and notices something very off about himself. There's a worm growing out of his eye. But
Maybe
does
a
he
side
think of
effect
telling
from the
anyone about
accelerant?
this? No, he just suits up, trying to pretend like it didn't happen. He's been infected with an alien contagion that's
Yeah,
causing
from a
visual
tiny drop of the
irritation,
accelerant.
and really knows to have infected the other members of the crew, but he's treated like a bad cold that will just go away. What the hell is up with the ship's quarantine measures?
I don't know.
The crew goes after the two departed imbeciles.
Oh yeah, and there was another thing, because in the original script for Alien Engineers, Holloway, whose first name is Morton, not Charlie, he fell off into a hole and he got a new type of some kind of version of the facehugger, which is called a proto facehugger. It's kind of like a giant squid type creature. And of course, when Waits, who was before was renamed Elizabeth Shaw, are about to have their sex time, he gets chest bursted. But this is a new type of chest bursting that we never seen in the French, because they were kind of like, it's not like the traditional xenomorph coming out in the chest. It's kind of tentacles coming out of the chest, and this is where we're introduced to the beluga xenomorph, who has the ability to squeeze his body into tight places, say like air shafts, lockers, and completely strong to kill personnel on the ship. I really wish they have not cut that out in the movie.
Whilst David goes off to supposedly fix the malfunctioning probe,
Yep.
he's of course working for the company agenda, along with Vickers, who is monitoring his feed. What the probe has picked up is some sort of cockpit, but as soon as David enters, he cuts off Vickers' feed. Vickers is that rare beast. She's
Yeah,
cast
pretty
like
much saying like, oh no, 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 you're not gonna see this.
Talks like she's important, all except actually acting like she's important. What she really does is spend most of the film reacting instead of actually doing anything.
Yeah.
She's like a Charlize Theron-shaped decorative ornament.
Yeah.
David activates yet another hologram with the engineers walking around normally before whatever killed them. It's here where we discover that the alien's password system is apparently playing the flute. Yes, when the engineers weren't creating life, they were especially fond of jazz rhythms. They're the great ancestors of Ron Burgundy.
Okay, that's pretty funny.
In a sequence that was obviously tailored towards the 3D presentation of the film, a huge solar map appears that
Okay,
shows
I really
exactly
love
where
that
the engineers
sequence
were
with
planning to
David
go
holding
2,000 years ago when the accident
the hologram
occurred.
of Earth.
It also lights up a cryopod
Yeah.
with an engineer inside,
One is still
proving
alive.
that they may not be all dead after all. It's a scene where we
Just
get a real sense of
sticking it on
scale,
nice nappy
wonder,
nap
and discovery.
in the
But the
cryopod.
film should have stopped more often to provide, instead of rushing to the next rehashed bit from Alien. And I hope you enjoyed the breather, folks, because this is pretty much the last of
Yep.
them. The crew go back to the bathroom and note the deterioration, with only Shaw apparently noticing that her boyfriend is stumbling around looking very pasty.
And going
They find
leaking.
Milburn's body,
Weakened.
but not Fifield's, and there's a lame scare as the worm
Yeah,
jumps
lame-ass
out.
jump
The
scare.
fact that Holloway is blatantly very ill, despite the fact the idiot keeps protesting he's fine,
fine.
means they all have to rush out for immediate medical assistance. Something which he could have got if he reported it back on the ship in the first place.
Yeah.
In fact, because the crew don't know how he became infected, they all rightly start being terrified of the fact they had their helmets off down there, because only now have they just realised what a stupid idea that was. When they get to the ship, the door refuses to open because Vickers is seizing the one moment where she actually gets to do something in this movie.
Oh yeah, she opens up the cargo bay door, holding a flamethrower at the group, telling them to get on the ship, except for Holloway because he's infected with the accelerants.
He's not coming on board.
This is a sick man.
I can see that. That's why he's not coming on my ship. We can still have him. Help yourself. Everybody but Holloway back on the ship now.
Yes, the Ripley spirits has temporarily moved from shore to Vickers in this scene, right down to the fact she's threatening the entire crew with a flamethrower. If the whole point of this was to quarantine the infected, why did she open the door? You know, like Ripley didn't in the scene that we're blatantly referencing?
Yeah, pretty much, because in Alien, Ripley doesn't want to bring Lambert, Dallas, and Kane on board because Kane still has the face hugger on his face, and she tells them that, wait a minute, if we do that, we break quarantine protocol. You know the laws. Which Ripley is pretty much following orders to the book to a T.
If one got infected, there's no telling how many there could be. It's not as simple as everyone else rush on board. And despite the fact he was protesting a second ago, suddenly Holloway is remarkably calm about killing himself.
Well,
Stay back.
barbecue.
Nice to see that Vickers puts him down the humane way.
By getting his painful burning death.
The thing didn't try and burn the cargo bay while set on fire, screaming in agony.
Yeah, like, pour me out. He accidentally crashed into, like, say, oil drums, and he gets blown up, blown up.
If there's an awkward dissolve when we move to shore asleep, did she pass out from shock or what?
Well, technically, if you look very closely at one of the people having, like a sedative, they pretty much knock her out.
And David removes her cross necklace, claiming that it could be contaminated. That brings us nicely to the film's ideas of faith and religion, which you might have already
Pretty
noticed from the
much.
somewhat creationist themes. Shaw is established very early on as being a Christian, which is apparently related to the death of her mother, as seen in the early dream sequence with her Patrick Wilson portraying
Oh, hi,
father
Oren from
that was
Aquaman.
solely in the film to exposit this.
And he's barely in this movie for the beginning, and we don't get to see a death scene between her parents. We only get like a memory flashback and that's it.
Now, I have nothing wrong with this setup.
Yeah, pretty much.
except Oddly, the film never seems to draw any actual conflict from this.
No.
You can take your father's cross off now.
Why would I want to do that?
Because they made us.
And who made them?
Well, exactly. We'll never know.
That's the mystery. Who created the engineers? Could be the actual space jockeys who made them, or something else. That's a mystery.
She still believes in her own faith, even though she's proven scientific reasoning that completely invalidates her own Christian belief system. Now, that's not to say that she shouldn't or can't believe if she wants, but the film never addresses why. And that's what Prometheus keeps on doing. It brings up these concepts, but they can't be called themes because they're nowhere near fleshed out enough. It's just raw ideas.
Yeah.
The removal of the cross is also interesting because it symbolically removes an item that protects her, indicating that the worst is going to happen to
Yeah.
her. And sure enough, that's exactly what happens, because David discovers when scanning her body that she's become 3 months pregnant.
Yeah.
The sex with Holloway has reanimated her infertile womb, but it's to an alien fetus, and David puts her to sleep. So she's 3 months pregnant in a matter
Yeah.
of hours, but showed absolutely no signs of this up until David told her.
Nope.
I know the pregnancy is on fast forward, but did she somehow skip past the morning sickness phase?
Well, I guess so.
The crew attempt to put her in a cryopod.
Oh yeah, that's where we get to that scene where the two officers go, and one of them is that dumb idiot medical officer, taps her in the face and says, "We're going to put you cryo sleep and you go to Betty Buys." I was like, you said that to a person who's infected with an alien who is impregnated with an alien squid inside of her. For me, I was like, hello, lady, you don't say that. Seriously, Bones is a better medical officer than you, idiot.
But she suddenly snaps away and viciously attacks the medical team, who, let's face it, were only doing their job considering they weren't able to perform the procedure. But never mind, we're referencing yet another Ripley plot point from Aliens.
Oh, yeah.
And don't worry about anyone else chasing her or making sure that she's properly quarantined, because they only sent 2 people to do this job.
Yeah, way more sense they had, like, trained mercenaries to, like, oh, I don't know, trying to get her.
I mean, it's not like this is a ship of now 14 people, full of trained mercenaries who can easily guard the area in case she pulls a stunt like this.
Make that 15. Because you got... No, you're right, there were 14 because now there were 3 casualties. Melbourne, Fifield, and Holloway, so I'm sorry.
Please verbally state the nature of your injury.
I mean, cesarean.
Error. This medipod is calibrated for male patients only.
What? Okay,
What?
I noticed yet another heavy-handed hint towards the ship's mystery passenger. Wait, are you telling me this super rare, extremely expensive medical device that can do any emergency surgery on a whim is only programmed for men? Last I checked, women were a completely different species, and they will certainly be a pain in Vickers
Sorry,
once a use
hiccups.
it, considering it was in her lifeboat. No, she has to override it by making it do a foreign body search instead. What's wonderful about this machine is despite the fact that it does intensely painful surgery, it barely gives its patients any...
Apparently, the stomach spray is anesthetic, but that previous saw all the way hell.
kind of anesthesia to try and take some of the sting out of, say, cutting someone's stomach open. Luckily, Shaw grabs some drugs, which she has to keep injecting herself with to make sure she doesn't pass out from the shock. And what does the call put
Oh,
out?
gosh.
Congratulations, Reg. It's a squid.
Okay, that was a good clip for Men in Black. Love the film series.
This is easily the film's most memorable sequence, and in some respects a clever reimagining of the chest burster.
Yeah.
There's also ludicrous attempts at being visceral, like Shaw ripping out the umbilical cord, or that the device doesn't even bother to clean or stitch together the gaping wound, but just staples it back together. It's like the filmmakers consciously decided
Yeah, way
to
more
completely
sense
ignore any
that
medical knowledge
it's kind of like a
whatsoever
machine
to
that
make it
stitched
more
her stomach
intense.
up.
Take the staples thing, for instance. If she squirted herself with a load of magical healing goo, then it wouldn't have mattered because it's clearly fantastical.
Yeah, there was also another bit from the original draft of the script. Excuse me. Where there was a scene where Watts, like I mentioned, was Elizabeth before they rename her Elizabeth, finds out that Dave was the one who killed Holloway, and she gets a face hugger in her, and unfortunately she has to get back to the ship because the chest burster is ready to burst out of her. Like they did the thing and it run off, but then you think, oh, she's dead. No, the lifeboat brings her back to life by doing like a kind of like a emergency revival procedure, and it brought her back to life.
Whereas with staples, we know exactly exactly what they can and can't do. Hell, the medicine that we have now seems to be better than 80 years in the future. The breathtaking stupidity
Pretty
continues
much.
to escalate, however, because Yannick sees Fifield's camera showing a visual on his monitor.
On the ground.
Yeah, that's not odd at all. So naturally, they decide to just open the door to welcome him back with open arms.
Yep.
What's that? He's some sort of crab zombie now? Oh shit! Maybe we should have thought about quarantine procedures again.
No.
Can someone please explain to me what the black goo actually does outside of vaguely mutating things? It has no consistent pattern to how it changes things, except to serve the narrative. It might as well be called liquid plot juice for all the explanation it gets.
Well, technically, we later find out that it's a accelerant, and it has the Canadian ability to create life or destroy it. So basically, that is the only answer that we got for the accelerant.
And so we have a completely tacked on, utterly useless sequence where the deformed Fifield brutally attacks and kills a bunch of utterly faceless secondary mercenaries who we've barely been introduced to and we're somehow supposed to care about. Eventually he's killed again when he's run over by a truck, and then Yannick barbecues it for good measure. The reason this feels like an unnecessary sequence is because it was. Fox asked Ridley Scott to add more action into the film, and this was the result. But if that's the case, its placement in the busy second half of the film makes no sense. Especially since we've just come off a major set piece. In fact, if you look at the early teaser trailer, it reveals that this sequence was actually
that's right.
in the film, and was going to include the main characters, including Shaw, who was the one originally driving the truck, explaining the sequence's appalling editing. There's also an alternate deleted version where Fifield looks and moves more like a xenomorph. Why? More fan service.
No, they could have just waited until, like, okay, we get that scene when Shaw meets Waylon, and then telling them that they're going to see the engineer, the last remaining one, and then you have that scene where after they get suited up, they see before they leave, they see something on the monitor. Sorry, where they realize, oh crap, we detected something. It's Fifield's security cam. So, yeah. And then you still have the whole scene where you can still keep the mutated Fifield, but have it like the alternate version, like it's killing the crew. They get Waylon on board the rover, and Elizabeth kill the mutated Fifield.
You can drastically move a sequence without it affecting the plot, or go through that many revisions in a desperate attempt to give it meaning that deserves to be left on the cutting room floor. There's already enough going on in this film without some random attack sequence that's never mentioned again. And whilst this is going on, Shaw's running and stumbling around the ship with no one stopping her, despite the fact this would rip a gaping wound open. She opens the door to the medical facility where, surprise,
big surprise, Waylon is here.
And no one seems very concerned about her. The fact that she attacked two members of the crew, the fact that her stomach sliced open, or what the condition of her alien fetus is. I know Waylon being awake is a priority, but are you telling me that their attention spans are so short they can't even ask, what the hell happened to you?
You're on the ship all this time.
I only have a few days of life left in me. I don't want to waste them until I was sure that you could deliver what you promised.
I understand that. What I don't understand is why you had to fake your own death for no reason. I mean, you could have mentioned it in the recording you made at the start. Oh, by the way, I'm also on board this ship, but don't wake me up until you actually find anything, okay? Good chaps. There! Problem solved!
Well, that pretty much defeats the purpose of the film.
And no pointless conspiracy theories either. When Shaw begs them to go home, Waylon challenges her faith. However, this conflict in herself only lasts about 30 seconds before she just downs a couple of painkillers for that pesky wound and suits up.
Where the hell are you going, Doc? You know what this place is? Those, engineers? This ain't their home.
Oh. How many drugs has Shaw taken now? She's gonna have a bloody overdose. Oh yeah, in the TV spot, Yannick did say, you know what this place is? It's hell, Doc.
It's an installation. Now, they put it out here in the middle of nowhere because they're not stupid enough to make weapons of mass destruction on their own doorstep. It got out. It turned on them. The end.
Of course, Yannick is right when he says this. But how
Which that makes sense because the pyramid is a weapon for.
And in the final film, he did. However, there was a lengthy deleted scene where he discusses with Vickers how he once visited a military facility.
Yeah, I really wish they have not deleted that one out.
This scene was supposed to be referencing and makes his assumptions more rational, but they dropped it for pacing. And that's the real issue with the film. There's precious few scenes where the crew of Prometheus actually sit down and talk.
Yeah, for me, they could have kept that scene in the movie. Like, that gave us the reveal that, oh yeah, the pyramid that Elizabeth and David and the others are at was actually a weapons facility.
You look at Alien, and at every development, the characters talk, plan, and
Yeah.
think about their options, trying to comprehend the escalating horror around them. On the other hand, the crew of Prometheus, a group of scientists and explorers who
And mercenaries.
remember, see a bunch of weird shit, have a load of crew members die and or get hideously mutated,
Oh,
and yet never see the
stupidity.
bat an eyelid at it, let alone discuss what their next plans are. They're taking those multiple fatalities in their stride. But that
Sure.
brings us to the even bigger question.
Yeah, the biggest
if this is
one.
indeed a military facility.
I think they want us to come and find them.
Who the hell left all those cave paintings in those societies then? And why are they pointing towards the aliens' secret weapons facilities? And if they want us to come and find them, then why are they planning on destroying us? Was that the backup plan for the aliens?
I guess so.
Wait 2,000 years for a bunch of stupid humans to stumble onto the site and activate it again? Nothing about this plot makes any freaking sense.
I don't know.
She asks Yannick if he cares about what the engineer has to say, which he denies. He's only sticking around to make sure that nothing they found returns
Yeah, including
to
the
Earth,
accelerant.
with heroic sacrifice pretty much stamped on his forehead at this point.
Well, at least he makes the rightful decision that he cannot bring the accelerant back to Earth. That would be a big no-no.
Elsewhere, Vickers pays Wayland a visit.
If you're really going down there, you're going to die.
Very negative way of looking at things. Exactly why you should have stayed at home.
Did you really think I was going to sit in a boardroom for years arguing over who was in charge while you go look for some miracle in some godforsaken rock in the middle of space?
So, you didn't want to fight for control over the company that you probably would have been the head of had you stayed on Earth.
Yeah, pretty much like that, Vickers.
Boss you don't particularly like, on a mission that you don't believe in?
What?
Then why the hell are you in this movie?
Yeah,
I mean, on
what are you
this
doing on the
ship?
ship for?
Anything else?
No. Father.
Ah,
Oh.
So Vickers is Wayland's daughter.
Oh yeah, that's right, because
And
Raylan pretty much
describes what character
disowns
that's
her
done nothing. And
in
it's
favor of
changed the
David
plot.
because he wanted a
It
son.
doesn't. It's a twist that seems like it's important, but isn't. Just like Vickers herself. In fact, why the hell is Guy Pearce in this film? He looks absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, like I said, they
That's
could
the
have
least
cast
convincing
Max von
old
Sydow as older Peter Wayland.
Pearce doesn't move or talk like someone who is 100 years old. Apparently, the reason for Pearce's casting was there was originally planned to see a young Wayland when David was talking to him in his dreams, but those scenes were scrapped and weren't even filmed, so the only time he appears out of makeup is in the viral TED Talk video used to promote the film.
Yeah, and also he did it again for Alien Covenant when he and David shows up in the first scene of the movie, the beginning part.
Truly, once they got rid of those scenes, they should have recast with someone more appropriate.
Yeah, like
It's
Max
a
von
really distracting
Sydow
bit of
or
casting
somebody
when he's
else.
Such a well-known actor. Every time I see him on screen, I keep
Well, pretty much
tempted to tense his fingers and go,
Excellent.
It's
Okay, that's funny.
Welcome to our first Silo's baking competition. The winner gets their dessert featured in the Silo's Bakery.
Excellent.
So they make their way to the pyramid, and Shaw finally realizes David was the one responsible for what happened to Holloway when he assured Wayland that the air is perfectly breathable.
Pretty much.
When Yannick sees the thousands of vases in a cargo hold, he realizes that the bottom of the site is a ship, similar to the one seen in Alien.
Yeah.
Using the flute moves that he learned, David activates the ship's controls, whilst noting that they were coming to Earth to destroy it, somewhat nonchalantly considering the implications.
Yeah, when he says this to Shaw, he says, sometimes to create, one must first destroy.
I guess we're writing David as a straight villain like Ash now. Regardless, he wakes up the engineer, who looks a bit like an albino Mark Strong. David says something to the engineer because he somehow knows their exact language. Or maybe he doesn't.
Well, technically, yeah, there was a deleted scene in the movie where we do hear the engineer speaks in this alien language. Wayland tells him, like, hey, we're like the same. So if you give me the ability to become young again, so do we have a deal? And no, the engineer just grabs it, twists it, whips it off, hits Wayland, kills that dumbass medical officer that we don't give a rat's ass about, and that one mercenary who hits Elizabeth on her stomach really hard because of the C-section, despite that Elizabeth is trying to answer a question to the engineer, but Wayland tells her to shut up.
As the engineer suddenly rips his head off like Ash beats Wayland with it and kills two dead meats while Shaw escapes. I know the movie was setting up for a deliberate anticlimax.
Yeah.
But I expected far more than a swirling death rampage. After all the talk of how advanced this race is, he acts like a caveman.
And can you imagine, like, that there were good engineers and this one bad engineer be like, hey, let's care about these humans. Maybe we should get them a second chance. Yeah, pretty much.
Must destroy puny humans.
Dude, no, we don't kill them. We're just gonna basically say like, hey, we're giving you a second chance. Don't screw it up, okay?
Kill.
No, we're gonna save them. We're not gonna kill anybody. We're not gonna destroy them.
Destroy.
You forgot to drink your coffee, didn't you? Just take your coffee and think about this, okay? Just think about it.
And on that note, Wayland passes away from his injuries. What is the point of including important characters like
Yeah,
this
just
and then
like,
not doing anything with
don't
them?
have them and just
Everything in this film is
throw it in the
undeveloped.
garbage.
It's also where we get the big reveal of the space jockey taking shape as the engineer takes his place in the giant navigator, revealing that all it was a spacesuit all along. How underwhelming. It's also worth noting that in comparison to the jockey alien,
technically
it
no,
appears
because
positively puny. In that film, it was absolutely immense.
also you notice that he's holding those two kind of like things, while the one in the suit kind of like has like a flat surface with buttons on it. So technically, it's not the same person.
And towered over the humans. Whereas here it seems like half the size, and that's being charitable. The reason the space jockey was so fascinating in the first place was because it was huge, and it barely seemed comprehensible
Hey,
to our
at least we can-
understanding. To discover it was just a very unusually designed spacesuit carrying a far less interesting humanoid inside it is one of those mistakes that prequels often make, where the question is more
Yeah, the
interesting
questions
than
are
the
better
answer
than the
itself, and may
answers.
even diminish the earlier film. And despite the fact that she not once but twice buckled down in pain while merely standing,
And getting hit in the stomach with a weapon and screaming agony and pain.
she's apparently in good enough condition to run long distances, climb up a shaft, and my personal favourite, huge leaps that could make Olympians jealous. I know she's running on adrenaline, but she was in chronic pain.
Pretty much.
Just because she was wearing a spacesuit doesn't mean that just goes away.
No.
Although we'll forget that happened in the Basic continuity, let alone logic, is going straight out the window.
Yeah.
Shaw insists that Yannick has to destroy the engineer's ship before it reaches Earth, even though it's not armed for that sort of thing.
Yeah, pretty much like they could have just have like a colonial marine ship with them, and pretty much say like they try to contact the Marines on their spaceship and launch a freaking nuke or missile at the ship, blowing it up. Can you picture that scene, everyone? Comment down below if you agree on that scene or not.
Despite Vickers' protests, Yana decides that he's going to ram it and gives her a minute to get to the escape pod as he detaches her living quarters with 2 years of spare air from Prometheus.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the romantic navigators are weirdly cool about instantly deciding to sacrifice their lives. As for any remaining mercenaries, the movie's forgotten
I'm guessing
about
they'll all
them, so I guess
die.
they have no say in the matter. Vickers gets out just before the ships collide, and Prometheus blows up into a million pieces.
Oh, yeah.
The two morons on the ground.
Oh, yeah, that's where we get the whole bit when Vickers and Elizabeth run.
Shit, that's about to fall on us, and start running in the battle of the Ripley clones.
Or running. What would make more sense that they couldn't just move out of the way?
Save you. For fuck's sake, turn! Look behind you at least. In fact, the only reason the Shaw ends up surviving is because
she made a
trains
course
and
correction.
forces her to course correct, as opposed to Vickers, who just keeps on going until she gets squished like a bug in an outrageously cheap death.
Yeah, pretty much off screen. Despite the movie is a rated R.
Funny thing, when I first saw the film, I actually thought they were going to do a protagonist switch here, where they killed off Shaw in favour of Vickers, and therefore give her a purpose in the film. I mean, they wouldn't make her Whalen's daughter and then casually discard it, right?
Nope.
That'd be something we were missing.
Nope.
Well, unfortunately, that's the thing with Prometheus. It really is just that simple. But no, this sequence still isn't over, because now the ship starts to fall vertically, putting an exhausted Shaw in danger yet again, who simply does her best Vickers impression and nearly gets crushed herself if it wasn't for a large rock which just holds it above her. Deus Ex Machina much. She only has 2 minutes of oxygen left in her suit, so she rushes to Vickers' quarters. Once inside, she investigates the trashed lifeboat, including the metapod area where the squid has apparently grown to enormous size. So let me get this straight.
Yeah, me too.
There is a giant, rapidly growing alien squid trapped inside Vickers' living quarters, and absolutely
No.
one noticed.
No.
Vickers were apparently never even ventured in there afterwards. Be sure to forget to tell her about that.
Or pretty much like, say, Yannick or any of the crew members. Or Whalen couldn't just hear it like thumping around, and he's like, what was that? And David could be like, let me check, sir. And he sees the squid alien. He's like, there is a squid monster in your room, your medical bed. What? Yes, there is. On second thought, we don't enter there.
Oh, of course she did, because I forgot that don't ask, don't tell was apparently this shit's policy.
Elizabeth, are you there?
Oh yeah.
You need to get out immediately.
There was another scene that was actually cut.
Oh, damn, Evil Mark Strong has some serious roid rage. Okay, that is a little bit understandable, considering he just crashed the shit out of his ship, but how the hell does he know that she's even in there? Oh, that's right, we're copying the finale to Alien, just like we copied half the damn film.
I went and watched the first Aliens again. And yeah, this was going to be in the final act where, oh yeah, there was a scene was cut out of the film where we were going to have a fight scene between Elizabeth and the engineer. That was actually cut out from the film when Elizabeth hits him in the axe, like say on the sides. And there's another thing that really boggles my head. How did his face got burned? I mean, wasn't there a scene when Elizabeth grabbed like a cable and shocked half his face? Tell me in the comments below that they did film that scene, or they forgot. Like, oh crap, we didn't.
The engineer attacks her, and immediately Shaw opens the
Yeah, pretty much.
sorry, the Metapod room doors, and he soon gets attacked by the raging hentai monster.
Kinda like a giant squid hentai
remembering
monster.
the main character immunity. It turns out the squid is basically a huge prototype
Yeah, a prototype face
basically
hugger.
a giant lady part that shoots a dick out. And then they do it. Yeah.
That match is
Shaw
coming, bro.
quickly escapes from the lifeboat and weaves as the last of the air supply runs out. Oh, right, that doesn't happen because the movie forgot to show us her actually changing her air supply, although I assume that's what the canisters she grabbed from Vickers' quarters were.
Yeah, we never see her changing her oxygen tank. Or I'm guessing those are supposed to be like food supplies or something. I don't know.
David informs her that he needs her help, telling her that there are other ships they can use to get home, which he can operate. Pointedly, the first thing she does when she gets there is ask for a crossback.
Even after all this, you still believe, don't you?
You said you could understand the navigation.
No, damn it!
We
I
want
to
an answer.
The events that you've gone through in this film, such as a crisis of faith, the infection and incineration of your boyfriend, the infertile womb that you had being used to give birth to a hideous monster, those engineers not being as friendly as first thought, and the death of the crew Prometheus, leaving you stranded on an alien planet, those all seem like the actions of a particularly cruel god of fate. But no, she just dismisses the question, and so too does the film. In fact, it seems like the message of Prometheus is believe in blind faith with nothing to back it up.
Yep.
Finding a path to Earth should be relatively straightforward.
I don't want to go back to where we came from. I want to go where they came from.
I hate to ask, but why in the bluest of hells would you ever go to a whole planet filled with these excessively angry aliens with a superiority complex? I mean, I know you want answers, but after the last few days you just had, I think going home sounds like a pretty good idea, don't you?
Well, technically they cannot
They
go
created
back.
us. Then they tried to kill us. They changed their minds. I deserve to know why.
Does it matter why?
Yeah, before this version of the ending.
I don't understand.
I guess that's because I'm a human being. And you're a robot.
Well, at least she didn't drop an
That's so
F-bomb on
profound.
him.
In a way, it doesn't actually mean anything. So apparently the difference between us and them is that robots don't understand why human beings go on idiotic suicide missions.
Yeah, pretty much.
In which case, I sympathize with the occasionally homicidal
Me too.
robot. We get a final message from Shaw as she leaves the planet in yet another callback.
Yeah,
to
with
the earlier
Ripley
film.
does her
Previous
transmission.
day, the year of our Lord, 2094. My name is Elizabeth Shaw, last survivor of the Prometheus, and I'm still searching.
Man, I can't wait for that sequel. A fanatic and a decapitated head who murdered her boyfriend are going to a hostile alien planet whose occupants will likely kill them the moment they set foot off the ship. With that setup, the possibilities are endless. But
No, apparently, in Alien Covenant, David killed all the engineers. Yeah, they pretty much like, hey, let's just wipe the slate clean and get the fans what they really wanted. The Xenomorphs. Who only show up an hour into the movie. I mean, yeah, we got the Neomorphs, but they could have just had the Xenomorphs in throughout the movie. But hey, that's just me. But big fat
oh,
no.
it's still not over because there's one final insult.
Oh yeah, remember when that proto face hugger face hugged the engineer? Well, the Deacon. Which we don't see in the comics.
Shutting jaw just turned the horror of that image into utter hilarity. And why do we have to have a proto-xenomorph at the end of this movie anyway? Oh, that's right, fan service.
Big one.
But it's not the proper one. No. We're saving that for the second sequel. Because we're going to be stringing out this one movie premise for as long as we can.
Like I said, in Alien Covenant, we only see the Xenomorph we don't get to the Xenomorph, which is called the Protomorph, until an hour into the movie.
So that was Prometheus in all its gory glory.
Yeah.
I cannot deny that on a sheer technical level, Ridley Scott is an absolute master
Yeah,
of his craft.
a pro.
The film looks gorgeous, and it's clear that it has plenty of ambition,
Yeah.
which puts it above your average bad movie. However, wasting that much promise and that much talent, both in front and behind the camera, on such a poorly written mess is absolutely criminal.
Yeah.
The script is littered with improbable
Yeah,
scenarios.
a jumbled mess.
Outrageously inconsistent characters, spouting leaden dialogue, and great actors can only do so much. For all the talk of intelligent sci-fi, the film feels like every other modern blockbuster. It touches on complex ideas, but is distracted by constant special effects, and the result is vapid. This is made worse by the alien DNA, which is basically that movie on shuffle mode,
Yeah.
copying scenes and cranking up the pace rather than the tone or the subtlety. Prometheus may not be the worst movie in this franchise,
Yeah.
but it's by far the most painfully disappointing. While the follow-ups to the franchise that this is clearly setting up may answer some of the ambiguities, it won't answer the lazy writing throughout, and it doesn't stand on its own feet apart from Alien. But if you like Prometheus, then
It was okay.
it's just that I can't as much as I want to.
Well, it is okay. Alien Covenant's okay too, but we don't know if we're gonna get that third and final prequel of the movies that will finally lead us to the events of Alien. But hey, that's just me.
I'm Matthew Buck, beating down bad movies everywhere.
See ya. See ya, Matt. And I really wish you came back to do another Bad Movies Beatdown again. Anyway, that's my reaction video to Bad Movie Beatdown of Prometheus. Now, I will do more videos, but also I will do them but trust me, I will do them. I want to say thank you for your patience, time, and also good nature. And don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, I will do more reviews or reaction videos to you guys, and trust me, I will get back to my Mass Effect game reviews. I've been busy a lot, and don't worry, I will pretty much post the videos I made back in May of 2021 for them, since I will do the third one. Anyway, this is Jason Grady, or Jacob Lamarca, and stay safe out there and have a great day. Peace out.